Hello, this is Robert Knowles. Today, myself and Jeff Franklin will be discussing events prior to the United States entering the war in the Pacific. However, before we cover that, I want to point out a few things for context that sometimes will get overlooked. The Second World War, as far as the war with Germany, is often blamed on events that happened at the end of World War I. What a lot of people don't understand is the same could be said about the war in the Pacific. At the end of World War I, Japan was awarded all the German-held territories in China, because unlike in World War II, in World War I, Japan was on the side of the Allies. Also, after World War I, China itself fell into a civil war between the Republic and the Communist movement. The war only stopped, or should I say paused, when both parties combined forces to confront the Japanese threat. Tensions between China and Japan would grow for several years, until one event would light the fuse connected to the powder keg that would start the Pacific War that would not end until 1945.
The spark that lit the powder keg that would start a war that would not end until 1945 was a firefight between the Chinese and the Japanese armies on the night of July the 7th of 1937. This would officially start hostilities, an all-out war between China and Japan. The next major battle between the two powers would be the Battle for Shanghai. The battle would rage from August the 9th of 1937 and ending on November the 9th of the same year, with Japanese forces taking the city. The Japanese in taking Shanghai would commit over 200,000 troops. And even though their casualties were high, the battle would end with the Japanese forcing the Chinese to retreat from Shanghai.
The next major battle in this conflict would be the Battle for Nanking. Historians look back on the Battle of Nanking and refer to it as the Massacre at Nanking. It is estimated that between the dates of December the 13th, 1937 and January of 1938, Japanese forces killed 40 to 300,000 Chinese, mostly civilians, in the taking and after the taking of Nanking. In Nanking, the Japanese showed how the war in the Pacific was going to be fought. Japanese soldiers, even after the Chinese military was defeated and had retreated from Nanking, continued to rape women and murder children and men, innocent civilians, without remorse or sympathy.
Thank you for joining us. We will return in 2 weeks with part 2 of our look at this point in history, as we explore an often overlooked chapter of the Pacific War in World War II.